Hello Sioux Falls, I'm Karla with the Planning Office, here to go over the items received for the March 4th Planning Commission meeting. The first item on the agenda is located at 5800 South Sycamore Avenue. The request here is to go from single family and townhome twin home to a different zoning classification that we don't see very often. This one is called RCD PUD. The intent here is to have single family dwellings that are a little bit closer together and maybe share some common space. This area would be served by the CN conservation area to the south, as that area has been identified as floodplain. Item number 2 is located north of 41st Street and west of 6 Mile Road. The request here is to go from single family to the RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban District. The next item here is a rezone from several different zoning classifications, including single family, twin home, townhome, apartments, commercial, and conservation, to the single family, apartment, and live-work zoning classification. This will allow for an apartment residential complex, and it'll also allow for an office development. Item number 4 is a change from the existing townhome and apartment area to doing just townhomes, as this applicant has identified that that's what he wants to do there, so he's removing the apartment component from the zoning classification. Item number 5 is located at 5422 East Arrowhead Parkway, west of Veterans Parkway and north of Arrowhead. It is a request to have a medical cannabis dispensary located closer than 500 to 1,000 feet from a sensitive land use. In this particular occasion, there is an manufactured home park located about 519 feet from the site. So that prompted the need for a conditional use permit. The last application here is a conditional use permit for heavy manufacturing, process, and assembly located 1,000 feet from residential properties. It is located north of I-90 and west of I-29 in Foundation Park North. Stay with us. When we come back, Bryan Peterson will be here to talk all things CommuniTree.
Hey, this is Seth with the City of Sioux Falls Housing Division. I'm here today with another Home Maintenance Minute for you. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your driveway in the winter. It is a city ordinance that you have to remove the snow within 48 hours of each snow event. And so in order to get that snow and ice off of your sidewalks, off of your driveways for yourself, a lot of people like to use salt. And I myself have used salt, and it works really great. However, as you can see with this driveway, this in particular homeowner used some really aggressive salts, and so it actually ate through the top layer of their driveway, and it's all pitted, and there's sand everywhere, and this concrete isn't going to last as long as it should. The Housing Division wants you to know that clearing your driveway and sidewalk helps avoid safety issues for individuals in wheelchairs, neighbors passing by, and delivery drivers, or anyone else who needs a safe path. Clearing ice and snow can avoid damage to your sidewalk, such as water infiltration into cracks and joints, specifically during the thaw-freeze portion of winter. There are multiple products and methods for clearing snow and ice from driveways and sidewalks during the winter months. We encourage you to do your own research and understand the consequences of the products that you are using. Lastly, we want to thank you for taking care of your investment and continuing to keep Sioux Falls the safe, neighborly community we enjoy. Thank you for watching today's Home Maintenance Minute.
Hello Sioux Falls, I'm Karla, and I've got Bryan, Urban Forester with the city, here to talk about CommuniTree.
Thanks, Karla. The CommuniTree Assistance Program is something we started with a federal grant that we were awarded a few years ago. We really kind of noticed that there were a lot of vacant planting sites within Sioux Falls, and in particular with emerald ash borer and our response plan, removing trees along the city streets. We were really seeking a way to add more trees to those vacant planting sites. So pursuing a federal grant was a great avenue to be able to expedite that replanting process.
So this is how CommuniTree got started?
Yeah, this is exactly how CommuniTree got started. Noticed the need, and there was an opportunity to apply for that funding, and thus the CommuniTree Assistance Program was created.
Sure. And how do people apply for these types of support?
The CommuniTree Assistance Program, it is only eligible within qualified census tracts.
Okay.
That kind of goes down to the specifics of the grant application itself. Funding was only available for those designated tracts. Mailers were sent out to property owners who had eligible planting sites abutting their property.
Okay.
However, there has been a lot of trees removed since we have sent out those letters to homeowners, whether it's derechos, tornadoes, or even just natural mortality along the
Sure.
street. So we encourage residents to apply for planting permits, and when their planting permit application shows up within those qualified tracts, I will make a phone call directly to them and hopefully enroll them in this wonderful program.
Okay, so how do folks do you have to be in a neighborhood association to use these assistance, or how do you get enrolled?
No, actually. So the CommuniTree Assistance Program, it covers the entire qualified tract area.
Okay.
We are targeting planting within residential areas to put these trees where people live. That way they can reap the benefits of these new trees going in along the street.
How many trees do you think we've seen since the start of CommuniTree, or how many do you plan for every year to install?
Yeah, so the original award for this grant, it was a $3 million grant to the city, and we put a bid out who actually have these trees contract installed. The contractor will install the tree. They'll also provide the first growing season's care and maintenance to the tree as well. This spring in 2026, we have around 1,200 new tree sites that are going to be installed along the streets of Sioux Falls within this project boundary. They're looking at installing actually the first couple weeks of April, pending the weather, of course.
So starting in April, when is planting season, and when can we see these trees kind of start to canopy and grow in our communities?
Yeah, so we're looking at a spring planting. Spring is always a question of weather in South Dakota.
Okay.
I mean, a couple weeks ago it was 50 degrees, 60 degrees here in Sioux Falls, and it felt like spring, but we're in the middle of February. So, depending on the weather, spring season is anywhere from March all the way to the first part of June. We would like to install trees before the summer heat really sets in for Sioux Falls.
So what do you look for to make sure that a tree is installed safely, or to make sure that it's a viable tree in our community?
Yeah, really, there's a couple of key factors to look at when installing a new tree. One, does that tree species do well in our climate? So looking at cold hardiness zones, but also keeping in mind heat tolerance as well. Species such as Colorado blue spruce are really set up for a mountainous region and do really, really well in those cold regions, which Sioux Falls does get cold. But Sioux Falls also gets really warm during the summer months. So some of that warm temperatures can be really hard on species such as Colorado blue spruce. The other thing to keep in mind when installing new trees, really the biggest thing we notice is your planting depth and making sure that those roots aren't buried super deep, and that first primary structure root is right at that ground level.
So then what about visibility, or to make sure that when cars are driving by or when people are walking the sidewalk, how do you determine all of those setbacks?
Yeah, so with any tree going in the right of way, the primary concern for us is always safety. Making sure that we have trees that are going to grow tall enough to give us the required clearance underneath trees, and making sure that trees are spaced out properly, and the spacing is set so that each individual tree can grow to its fullest potential. if trees are planted too close together, what happens is those trees rely on each other when storms hit the area, and they all kind of buffer the wind and the forces of that wind together as one unit. But when you start removing individual trees from that tight spacing, those trees are then forced to instantly buffer that wind and that natural force on their own. And that's where we see a lot of structural failure with trees in storm damage.
Interesting. So do you and your team go out to these sites and help folks navigate where the tree should be installed, or how does that work?
Yeah. So we take a lot of pride in helping the community put trees in right spots. Making sure that the tree and the residents are set for success, and that they're going to have a tree that's going to live to its fullest potential and also provide the most benefit to the residents here of Sioux Falls.
Exactly. Well, anything else on CommuniTree that you would like for us to know?
Yeah, I would. It's, the CommuniTree Assistance Program is kind of a first of its kind here for Sioux Falls, and we're really excited to have the opportunity to do it. We're kicking funding off here in 2026 with this first planting. We are going to pursue more additional sites to go into Sioux Falls, so certainly more to come as we reach out to residents and get more trees installed along our street. So there's no better time to plant a new tree, especially with the number of ash trees that have been removed from our city streets. It's a great time to look at replanting, and this is one fantastic opportunity to get a tree installed for free and have that first year care and maintenance taken care of for you.
So spring is planting season. I learned that today. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Thank you, Karla.
And thank you, Sioux Falls, for tuning in. Planning Commission this month is on March 4th. You can join us in person at Carnegie Town Hall or watch us online.